what's up? Check out this blunt and honest review from the Jock and Nerd podcast. That's us. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the Nerd.
And he's the Rug Boy.
What's up, guys?
Jock and Nerd. Okay, let's get to this week's movie review. We're doing that thing again where we're going to look at old franchise before a remake, sequel / of a franchise comes out. We did it with Alien and Alien Romulus, and this week we're going to be reviewing the original Beetlejuice from 1988. Here's your spoilers.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
Anthony, this was your brilliant idea again. I loved it. I didn't even think about doing that, but I had fun doing the Alien Romulus.
You're welcome.
Right? And I think this is going to be fun, too, because it's a great movie. This movie is 36 years old, originally released March 10th, 1988. On the Rotten Tomatoes, it is 82% on the tomato meter and 82% on the audience meter. This movie, it was made for $15 million and goes on to be kind of a hit, makes $75 million.
What year is this?
1988, back when they used to make movies about new ideas. Remember those days?
No, yeah.
Remember when there'd be new things like just people
that just existed in the movie theater?
Yeah, people would come up with ideas and make movies and put them out instead of adapting or doing
1988. You want to hear the top 10 from 1988 in the box office?
Yes, let's hear it. I believe Beetlejuice may be on there. Let's find out.
It is.
Yeah.
It is on there. Number 1, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh, shit. Number 1. That's great.
Number 2, Coming to America.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, I like the reactions too when you guys continue doing that. 3, Good Morning Vietnam.
Good Morning Vietnam. That's a good one.
4, Big. I don't know what Big is.
Classic
Big.
as well.
Tom Hanks on the piano playing chopsticks. Come on.
5, Crocodile Dundee 2.
That's not a knife.
You think that's a knife? That's not a knife.
6, 3 Men and a Baby.
Oh, that's a hard one. I don't remember
Good
any
night,
line.
sweetheart. Well,
yes, Steve Guttenberg. Tom Selleck.
Yeah, they all sing it.
Die Hard.
Oh, come on to the game. Have a good time, he said.
8, Moonstruck.
Oh, shit. That's Cher. I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's Cher and Nicolas Cage.
9, Cocktail. I don't know what that is.
Tom Cruise. He's the world's best bartender.
Yeah.
And 10 is Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice at number 10, so that's pretty huge for this. Beetlejuice
out of the top 10, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like 4 Walt Disney movies.
Oh, wow. So that does...
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Good Morning Vietnam, 3 Men and a Baby, and Cocktail are all Disney Studios movies.
That hasn't changed. Disney's still pulling those numbers.
The top 10 were either Disney, Paramount, 20th Century Fox, or Warner Brothers. So
Beetlejuice, Warner Brothers. It's on Max, and it's on TV all the time. By the way, this movie directed by Tim Burton.
Who's that?
Well,
this is his first big movie. I
think Tim Burton had just come off Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh yeah, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
But it goes on a run kind of after this movie. So we have Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 1985. He does Beetlejuice 1988. Here's what he does after Beetlejuice. Batman 1989. Edward Scissorhands. Batman Returns. Ed Wood. Mars Attacks. Sleepy Hollow. And then by 2001, he does that fucking shitty Planet of the Apes. And everyone is like, oh, fuck, what happened to Tim Burton?
And then his movies afterwards were just...
He kind of redeems himself with Big Fish. It's not bad. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But then really hasn't really... He's done like
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, he's done like Frankenweenie, Corpse Bride.
The Dumbo movie.
The Dumbo movie is bad.
No, but you'd be surprised that the Halloween Christmas movie, what do you call it? Nightmare Before Christmas, he produced that.
Oh, I forgot to mention Mars Attacks in there.
Mars Attacks.
That was a big one for him. Yes.
And then the Corpse Bride. Yeah. All those movies they're still and even the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory people still watch those movies. So
I mean, he gave us Nightmare Before Christmas also. Where was that? I missed that.
I just said that.
You did say that. Okay. And then most recently he directed 4 episodes of that Wednesday show, which wasn't bad. So Tim Burton, largely unknown style, unknown aesthetic. audiences will very quickly learn his aesthetic in this movie and then in Batman. It's from a screenplay by Michael McDowell, Warren Scarron, based on a story by McDowell.
His aesthetic. I mean, that run from Beetlejuice to Edward Scissorhands. That's fantastic. 3 years of just full on.
Oh, he was everywhere.
Tim Burton.
Not only him, Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, all of them get kind of a boost from this movie and go on to do great things. So this movie, of course, starring. I love his aesthetic, though. Like you mentioned, it's very unique and gothic, and we'll talk about it. Alec Baldwin as Adam Maitland. You got Gina Davis as Barbara Maitland. Michael Keaton, of course.
What about Victor Maitland?
Victor Maitland was, where's that from? That's, I know that name.
Stealing bearer bonds from Victor Maitland will get you in trouble.
Is that from a Bruce Willis movie?
No, well, some close. It's from Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, shit. Victor Maitland. Yes. Now I remember his face exactly. Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice. You got Catherine O'Hara, the comedy legend, Catherine O'Hara. After this, she's Kevin McAllister's mom in Home Alone, and recently on the Schitt's Creek show.
She recently had the shits. How'd you know that?
She had the shits. A young Winona Ryder. I believe this is like her second movie, or maybe her third movie, playing Lydia Dietz. Jeffrey Jones playing the father, Charles Dietz. Again, another guy, Jeffrey Jones, you'll know. He was in Amadeus. He was the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's right.
He does this movie. He does all these great character roles. Currently, also a registered sex offender.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to throw that in because that is part of his career. He had a little problem with child pornography. Was
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look it up. I can't not mention.
Wait, say that one more time.
Jeffrey, just look up Jeffrey Jones.
Which character does he play?
The father, Charles Dietz.
Oh wow,
the principal from.
I wonder Charles Dietz is not in the next one.
After those, after him going through that, having to register as sex offender, he shows up on Deadwood in like a great role on HBO Max. But yeah, it's hard to watch these Jeffrey Jones things knowing what he did if you look up the story. Anyways, I can't not mention Glenn Shaddix as Otho. You got to mention Otho. Otho's great. Anyways, yes, like I said, career boosting for Tim Burton, Winona Ryder, Michael Keaton. Anthony.
Yes.
What is your relationship with this PG rated movie? It's an hour and 32 minutes. Have you seen it before? How many times?
I saw it as a kid. But you never really, the only character I remembered was Beetlejuice, and I don't really remember much about it. But Beetlejuice, even though I don't really remember the movie, has always been something I just knew. Like I know what Beetlejuice looks like. You mentioned Beetlejuice. If someone wears a zebra
print thing,
any sort of zebra print, I automatically think of Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
but
like how
the other day, my old boss was wearing, as a female, she was wearing a black and white striped shirt.
Yeah,
I said, you kind of look like Beetlejuice.
You look like Beetlejuice.
She didn't take to that too well. But,
you can't tell a woman she looks like Beetlejuice.
I would never imagine Anthony would put his foot in his mouth like that.
But iconic, nonetheless.
Nonetheless, Beetlejuice is just a name that I've always known. But I partly wanted to do this because I just hadn't really comprehended watching Beetlejuice.
Before you give us the quick plot, Ruggs, what's your relationship with this movie?
Oh my God. I think I saw it in the movie theater. Yeah, and I thought it was kind of a great blend of some horror, like sprinkled in, comedy, and that otherworldly, warped view of everything.
Yeah.
And I just found it to be very charming. And then I found out that Beetlejuice was going to be Batman, and I was weirded out.
And you're like, we'll get into that. Yes, that's another crazy thing.
You want to know what I walked away from that when I saw it in the original?
Yeah.
Is the music.
Yeah.
The music just mesmerized me. And the whole score, I was like, dude, this score is amazing.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So I think I saw this in the theater. I would have been like 12 when this came out. And I remember instantly just connecting and falling in love with everything. I love Tim Burton's aesthetic. I think I may have seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure earlier, so he does a little bit of the same things in that. And yes, the music, Winona Ryder, Beetlejuice. This is a PG movie. He's being filthy. I love that. I've seen it many times. I love this movie. Anthony, what happens in Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice. This is a movie about a family, the Maitlands, or a couple that are living in a big house out in the country, and unexpectedly they die, and new people moved into the house that are I don't know. They're redoing the house.
Yeah,
they're city folk.
They're city folk, artsy, modern artsy,
and these country people that are dead are now ghosts, but they have to stay in the house with these people, and they don't like what they're doing in the house, so they have to try to scare them out of the house. And there's this character named Beetlejuice that they might need the help of. That's really it.
So let me hear from you. You having just watched it again recently.
I literally just finished it right before the podcast.
Where are your thoughts? What do you think about this movie?
So like I said earlier, I saw Beetlejuice, but never clicked for me. And I never thought about revisiting it. I didn't really know what I was getting into again to watch this. I think this movie is a lot of fun. I think it's a very quirky movie. I feel like if you think about it too much, it really doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, you don't want to think about it too much.
What was surprising to me, one of the first things I thought was I counted, we're 45 minutes in and we still haven't seen Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is in this movie about 17 and a half minutes.
It almost feels like
it's perfect.
It almost feels like Beetlejuice, while he's like great in the movie, it's like not even really about Beetlejuice.
It's kind of not.
It's a movie titled Beetlejuice, but really just about this family. And like, it's a strange, because you like the city people, you're kind of rooting against them, but they're not exactly, I wouldn't say they're like antagonists. Mm-hmm. And then you get to a point at the end where everyone just like lives happily ever. It's such a weird, like weirdly structured plot.
It's a reverse Poltergeist, right? Where the people are the annoying things that moved in instead of the ghosts.
Yeah, and then like Beetlejuice is kind of the bad guy, and all that to say though, I was very thoroughly entertained throughout the entire thing. It's a movie that feels like it's just a bunch of skits,
right?
These little bits over and over and over. But yeah, I mean, it's Tim Burton. Did he write this?
He didn't write it. Two other people wrote it, but he brought it to life.
Whoever came up with this, had some things going on, because it's just a fucking off the wall movie.
It reminds to me, it's like reverse Ghostbusters.
Reverse
All
Ghostbusters.
Right, so Ghostbusters is like a comedy, but it has some horror elements in it, but it's played to like kind of like be in the real world. Beetlejuice it's so off kilter, but the idea that you have a guy who is he's an exterminator for humans in your house.
He's a freelance bioexorcist.
Yeah, so he shows up, he scares the shit out of people, but you got to understand he's probably going to hurt them. Yeah. He doesn't play by the rules. He fucks up shit.
He's a little deviant, a little naughty.
All the ghosts are like, oh, don't fuck with that guy.
Do not ask him for
He's
help.
the wrong ghost.
But I do enjoy this whole world that they set up. So they die, and then they get this book, the handbook for the recently deceased.
There's rules, there's a handbook, there's a whole world.
And they're trying to read it, but doesn't make a fucking lick of sense to them.
Like because stereo instructions.
Yeah, because... like, of course, you get a fucking manual or you get a book that's supposed to help you with things, and you never can. Whenever you try and do something like this, they never make it so you can understand it.
Yeah.
So they're just like, fuck, you don't know what to do. And eventually they figure out they got to go to the underworld or whatever you want to call it.
Afterworld or purgatory or
wherever to kind of like, and then you get in there and there's all this bureaucracy there.
There's vouchers, there's paperwork, there's caseworkers. You got to make an appointment.
It's just fucking wild. And they're just fed up with it. They're like, okay, we got to fucking figure this out, how to get these people out of our house. And this fucking Beetlejuice guy keeps showing up. They find a flyer.
He makes
see a TV commercial.
Makes a commercial. Yes, come on down.
Like he's actively trying to get into their lives
in the model. So like, I love in the opening how they set up. They fly over.
I think they said Beetlejuice 3 times when they read the flyer. That's why he's there.
No, they said it. She says it 3 times initially to free him, but then she goes home, home, home. but he's already kind of out.
No, when they're reading the flyer, when they find the flyer, he says Beetlejuice, and then they try to say it like 3 times.
Oh, maybe that's
they don't really say his name, so maybe they can't fully come. Yeah. But he's in their model, fucking around in their model.
You get the first hint of him like 12 minutes in a little bit, but then the full his entrance isn't until like 47 minutes.
It's 45 minutes.
45 minutes in the movie. Look, this movie,
it's an hour and a half movie.
I know, and he's not even in it that much. I've always loved this movie, appreciated that how funny it is, how I believe Michael Keaton improv'd his lines, kind of some dirty lines, how dark, quirky it is. There's scary parts. Like you said, Ruggs, the music is great. Not just the Danny Elfman score, but the Harry Belafonte music. It turned me on to that. It is a cult classic now. And even he uses like stop motion animation, but like everything just kind of works in this universe that this movie lives in.
He's created this wacky world.
It follows the rules. It sets its own rules. It follows mostly the rules it sets. Right? So it's a great new character of Beetlejuice, a great new world. Can I just tell you the fucking music? Danny Elfman, of course, doing the score. And like I watched this earlier this week, and I've just been walking around in my head, just going dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Like it gets stuck in my head.
It's a great score. I remember when I was a kid and I saw it, and I was like, it reminds you of Pee-wee.
Yes, and you hear hints of the Simpsons theme. You hear hints of Batman that he's going to do later in this score.
Yeah, Danny Elfman was a revelation in the 90s. It adds so much to the movie. It's another character.
Yeah.
It's basically it's just even when the movie just opens.
Yeah.
You're already off and running with that fucking music. It does so much heavy lifting.
It's a very energetic score. It totally fits the vibe of what they're going for. This quirky, off the wall, kind of bizarre, but like comedy, but like also dark. I mean, there's. Go ahead.
It's a fucking horny movie for Beetlejuice too.
Yeah,
this dude is fucking. He's horny.
He's a PG movie, by the way.
It's a child,
not even PG-13.
He's weird.
The old lady is like, the way I got him away from you is I just put a whorehouse over here.
Oh, the brothel is great.
Builds a whorehouse.
I love that when he puts the spikes out. He's like, I'm feeling a little anxious, 600 years, I do a thing to me. And then this brothel shows up, and I love Barbara's like, Adam, why did you put that there? Because I didn't put that there. And it was fucking Juno. But even at the beginning, how they set up Adam and Barbara and this idyllic, quaint little town flying over the model. He's making this model of the town. You get the vibe of it right away. And I love how they crash and they fall into the water and they don't know they're dead. And very quickly, they give us clues about something weird coming on. And then you see the first crazy thing when he tries to leave the house. He's on this I guess it's called Saturn, the outside world with the sand. They refer to it as
sandworm is Saturn.
And there's sandworms like Dune. They're all stop motion. And time moves differently in there because she pulls it back and she's like, you were gone for 2 hours. And then the multiple times that they try to scare the Dietzes when the Dietzes move in, and it's hilariously bad and they fail and they can't do anything. So they have to visit Juno, the caseworker. But with goth Winona Ryder, like, she was so great. Like, this is where my big crush started on Winona Ryder. How can you not like her? She's so adorable. And that whole goth, dark, quirky vibe.
And dude from that M. Night Shyamalan movie.
The Sixth Sense?
Sixth Sense. They both see dead people.
Oh, they do both see dead people. Yes, she's strange and unusual.
I myself am strange and
unusual. And then even when they go to the afterworld, the details in this set, I love the way this looks. It's so wacky, over the top, but everybody's makeup is great. And you notice,
I love this part where the football team's hanging in Juno's office. They're like, Coach, where's the men's room?
Where's the men's room?
The men's room, for Christ's sake.
He's like, Coach, I don't think we survived the crash. Oh, yeah? She's like, I'm not your coach. He survived. That's what Juno says. and you notice, like, she mentions something about, like, if you commit suicide, you are a caseworker. Oh, they said that later. And, like, everybody there has, like, suicide wounds. In fact,
that's
Juno.
dark. One of the people has, like, the slit wrists.
Yes. And then
there's a guy hanging.
The guy got run over. He's like, how do I look? Sometimes I feel kind of flat. And he's just hanging there. But you'll notice Juno, she's got a wound around her neck. And when she smokes, the smoke
it comes out of her neck.
Out of there. So
what about the other guy? The guy with the cigarette? He's like trying to quit.
He's like, you want to smoke?
So what are the laws? Like, I don't understand. There's people that go to hell. There's people that live like, I don't If you could explain to me the laws of, like, death and, like, why people are living in the house, why people are stuck in this, like, hell where they're like, you looked outside and the janitor's like, they're fucked.
Because they've been exorcised from their own home.
Yeah, there's the room of lost souls, which is really creepy. Oh. So she does tell them you're stuck there for 125 years. And you're going to
where do you go?
Yeah, and, I don't know. Then maybe you move on into wherever.
But then why do they want them to cover up the fact that they're ghosts? Because at one point she's like, you gotta, but then the movie ends with them all being like a happy family.
Yeah, she's like, you can't leave any proof of the afterlife.
But the movie ends with there's all this proof of the afterlife.
I think that Gina Davis says at some point, like, let's break the rules. Let's just do whatever we want.
She's like, you got to haunt them and get them out of your house, but you cannot leave proof of the afterlife. So maybe they break the rules a little bit.
I think it just makes it easier for her job. Yeah. She's the bureaucracy. They just want it to be easy because
it's a weird ending to me because the whole movie they're building up that Catherine O'Hara and molester dude
yes.
are like not the best, right? Like they're building up that these are like kind of unsavory people.
Yeah.
And then so you're kind of rooting for them to be kicked out. And then the movie goes, oh, no, actually, everyone gets along. And
it's weird. It's unclear because at the epilogue after the whole thing, she comes home. The house looks like it did before. It's not old modern. And Jeff,
I think they come to a compromise with
the father is there and he's in his office and he's reading. And then it's so cute because Lydia's like, oh, can we do the thing? I aced my test. And they do a fun little haunting to another great Harry Belafonte song. And then you see the football team behind her dancing, which is also great. But yeah, I guess they all live after
it's a very convenient and happy ending, which the ending should have been that the Deets fucking left. And then
so I do have
because weren't they also saying like Lydia, like they were implying that Lydia didn't like her stepmom either.
Yeah, it's
like
her
stepmother. The stepmom was kind of like not a great mom to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just a weird it for me, I was like, wait, that's how it ends?
Well, they give you, and then they give you a little closure to Beetlejuice, right? After he's like eaten by the sandworm in the wedding ceremony, you see him in the underworld, and it's great because he's hitting on that lady that's cut in half. He puts his hand on her leg and she slaps him. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't see you sitting over there." Like the other part, and then the shrunken head guy is fantastic.
He takes the guy's ticket.
Yes, because
he's switch tickets.
He's like 9 million something, and the guy's 4. And then he gets his head shrunk. And that's also great. He's like, whoa. And he's like, oh, I think it's a good look for me, actually. Yeah, it's the last line of the movie.
I do have to comment here, too, because the Michael Keaton I grew up with was like Batman and a lot of different characters.
Yeah.
So I knew he was Beetlejuice, but I've never really seen him like this. So seeing him like this, he's clearly the star. Like he's so good.
Yeah.
It was crazy for me watching him like this going, oh, what the fuck? That's Michael Keaton.
He's almost in like a different movie, right? He improv all his lines and he steals every scene. That's funny you say that because up until this point, this is why the Batman casting was so crazy and controversial. Up until this point, the Michael Keaton you knew was the guy from Mr. Mom, was the guy from Johnny Dangerously, from Gung Ho, from these She's Having a Baby, these comedy movies. So he was just like a comedic actor to most people. And then he does Beetlejuice. And then he's announced to be Batman. Oh, The Dream Team is another great movie he does before Batman, also comedy. And they're Batman. And everyone's like, you mean Beetlejuice? You mean the Mr. Mom guy is going to be fucking Batman? But it worked out. Kind of worked out. I mean, he's a great dramatic actor as well as a comedic actor.
He can do everything.
He can do everything. And this is like, It's a great.
He's the Vulture.
Yeah, this is a great Michael Keaton role and performance. I'm actually excited to see him do this character again after 36 years. It's going to be amazing. You got any other favorite moments, favorite lines? There's lots of
nice fucking model.
That's like my favorite fucking line in the whole movie for several reasons. And then he grabs his junk. He goes, "Nice fucking model, honk honk." Grabs his crotch, and I'm like, "This
is an F-bomb, and this is a PG movie."
There's a loophole. I think back then you could say one fuck in a PG. It's not even 13. He
does drop that. He does also try to look up
he looks
Gina Davis's skirt.
He's groping her. He kisses her. He's great. He's a little deviant. Just a great character. But man, they pushed
his story that
PG
he used
rating.
to be a caseworker.
He was Juno's assistant.
Must have committed suicide himself.
Yes.
And he was a caseworker, and then he was too unorthodox.
Yeah, he was too crazy, and she cut him loose. So he does say he's lived through the Black Plague, so it's unclear how old he actually is, but he could be lying. Everything he said could just be lying.
So I have a question here so at the end, Otto is trying to, Otho, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Basically, they discover that there's ghosts.
Yeah.
And they're like, that we can make money off this by just having the ghost perform for people, right? That's what the family wants.
Yeah, it didn't work.
They didn't work, but then Otho's like, I can get the ghosts.
He swiped the book and read it.
But he, instead of summoning the ghosts, he like curses them, right? Or he like puts an exorcism on them.
Whatever he did, the curse goes wrong. Yeah, it's their wedding gowns, and then they're materialized in the gowns, but then they start aging and dying, even though they're dead. They look like they're dying, and he can't reverse it. And Lydia has no choice.
Then they have to call what's his face?
Yes, and he's just smugly waiting there, and he's like,
"Let's turn on the juice and see what shakes loose."
And I love it. She says it, and he goes, "It's showtime," which is fucking great.
I just love. Are you a ghost? I'm the ghost with the most.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe. I love when he goes, "What are your qualifications?" And then he goes, "Oh, I've been to Juilliard and I've lived through the Black Plague." And then he goes, "I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every time I see it." He goes, "What do you think? You think I'm qualified?" He does a little bit of the Bruce Wayne going, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts."
Yeah, you can see that there.
Yeah,
nice fucking model is great. I'm a ghost with the most, babe.
He threw a line in there. It's not a super funny line, but it made me think, oh wow, I remember that. He goes, "Attention, Kmart shoppers."
Oh yes.
And I'm like, oh, Kmart.
Fucking Kmart.
That was a thing.
I mean, a lot of these jokes, I don't even know if like you were a kid and you watched this, like reads like stereo instructions.
You wouldn't. It would make no. Yeah, you
it
wouldn't.
Makes no sense to anybody.
As a kid, though, I remember seeing the movie and just being like, "Oh, he's crazy."
Yeah,
that guy's crazy.
I mean, he goes, so when they're like, "Can you be scary?" and he turns around and makes like the jerk off motion. It's great. He's like, "Oh, can I be scary?" And then he goes, "What do you think of this?" He goes, "You like it?" That's so good.
There's a lot of non-Beetlejuice shit that's kind of funny. Like,
there is.
When Alec Baldwin goes to the hardware store and he just says hi to the old guy sitting outside, and the old guy just starts babbling about a haircut.
And he's still talking to him. Old Bill.
Yeah, he's just talking.
He's like, "One time Big Bruce came into the shop and he said,
but there's nobody even in the hardware store. He just like kind of goes there and just
and he leaves money. Nobody's working there. It's this little town. Everybody trusts each other. I love Lydia writing the letter. She's like, "I am alone." And then she crumples it up and then goes, "I am utterly alone." And it's just perfect, like, sad emo goth teenager stuff. Delia has a great line also where Otho's like, "What happened to these people?" She goes, "They died." And she goes, "Oh, look, an indoor outhouse." She's walking by the bathroom. And then I love
what about Robert Goulet?
So, yes, this is a movie that has Dick Cavett and Robert Goulet. Now, you may not even know who these people are. Dick Cavett was a TV personality, talk show host. Robert Goulet was like an actor, but like a Vegas singer. Also, very strange cast as Maxie Dean. I love when his head spins and then he catches it. He's like, "Don't you hate it when that happens?" He talks up a loogie, spits it in his armpit. I'll save that for later. Like he
eats the bug.
He eats the cockroach. "We've come for your daughter, Chuck."
What about the big Zagnut?
Yes, he's like, "Come here."
Like, why do you want to eat the bug when you have the Zagnut?
I know, just eat the Zagnut. He likes. Go ahead, make my millennium. He says.
I'm very curious what his inspiration was for this. Like, what was he? Because he goes. I don't know what that is. He just it's its own thing. He's just fast talking. No, like says he's very crude.
Yes.
But also like says like his mannerisms. I mean, I watched the movie an hour ago, so I can't put together all my thoughts.
I don't know
but
what
just
he's
like
doing. Like he just came
I
up
feel
with
so
like
crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like Michael Keaton was doing a lot of like he was doing that dream team with the mentally ill people.
That was around this time.
That was kind of like a wacky thing for him.
Yeah.
And maybe he was just carrying some of that idea into this. But I mean, yeah, he's such maybe a little bit of Robin Williams in there. I don't know.
It reminds me a lot of it's on Robin Williams' caliber in terms of his quickness and his one-liners. And I bet the outtakes are great. But yeah, this may have just been this incredible, unique creation that just comes out of what Michael Keaton's in his head, everything together.
Yeah, it's a performance.
It's great. I think it's really smart that they used him sparingly because that shtick, if there's too much of it, it's going to get tired.
You might get tired of it, yeah.
He's literally in this for 17 minutes and it's fucking perfect. Like I wouldn't add any more. It's just enough time.
Well, the movie's an hour and 30 minutes.
Movie.
Yeah, it's not that long.
I mean, you're in, what do you get 5 minutes in and the couple's dead?
Yeah. Right away. They just
right away. And then right away, we're ghosting now. Yeah. We're doing this ghost thing.
Yeah, I love how much of a pervert he is. The Deo banana boat scene is iconic and it's still fantastic to watch. And it's just also hilarious, like it backfires.
It's a great moment. It really is.
Unforgettable. When everyone gets up and at the dinner table starts dancing. Yeah.
Yes, like that is all time in film history. Like everybody knows that scene, and it's so much fun.
Like, have you ever seen anything like that before?
No.
In a possession?
No, not in like a scary,
like a funny possession.
Yeah, like a funny. That was the thing. It was different. It was like a funny take on and a slightly dark and scary, but really funny and colorful.
Yeah, this in Ghostbusters, changed how you could view like ghosts and stuff. Like you could make it funny. You could have some fun with this.
But there are some horror moments, like when she pulls her face off.
Oh yeah,
in the thing, and she's hanging from a noose.
Oh yeah, and he's got his head
right off the bat. Yeah, she pulls her fucking face off.
Yeah, that's great. And
then later on, they pull their faces in all weird directions.
Yeah, what did you guys think of those kind of practical prosthetics and the stop motion? Like it's very Tim Burton. He did it in Pee-wee.
It works in this movie because it's super stylized.
Yeah, totally works.
Because like you had the primer of them going to the underworld.
Right.
And seeing all the wacky shit that they did with all those people. Like everybody's painted green and weird colors. And you got the guy who looks like a little matchstick, burnt matchstick. Yeah. you got all these wacky. So then when they do that, it works with everything else.
The guy that was flat, that got like splattered and run over, I was like, holy shit, that looks great.
Yeah. It's not bad for some of it holds up. Some of the stop motion doesn't, but it does
work for that aesthetic.
It works
the
for
movie
the
that they're going for.
It's believable in the universe of the movie. I also like the little touch, like at the end when he comes out and he's got like the merry-go-round on his head and the curled up arms. You notice he's got like bat wing ear pieces sticking out of the side of his head. And I was like, oh, is that a little foreshadowing? Apparently there's a skull on top of that thing that also looks like Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas, which was a character he had come up with like in the 80s. So he put a little bit of that in there. But I love just Tim Burton, Danny Elfman, Michael Keaton, this production design. It's magical. It's magical, and it's a new thing. And the whole final act is great where he takes care of the Maitlands and the Maxie Dean, and he rushes the wedding. It's really funny. All the things where the ring is on a severed finger, and he's like, she meant nothing to me, honey. I swear it. And he's like, do you take her? And he's about to say his name. Beetlejuice's like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. And then he has that aside when he's like, do you take her to be wife? He's like, oh, I don't know. It's a big step. I always said if I was going to do this, I was going to do it once. And then he comes back. He's like, let's go. Oh, and then he voices her. He's like, I, Lydia Dietz, have sound mind, and I love this man of mine. It's all great. It's and I even love when
he's going to do every scene in the movie.
I love when he changes Otho's clothes to like blue polyester suit, and that's enough to get him horrified.
Imran's going to literally quote every single thing he does in the movie.
No, I do, but okay.
I got more.
Let's go over some behind the scenes things because a lot of stuff has come out about this movie. I already said Keaton improvised most of his lines. It does win the Oscar for Best Makeup the next year at the Academy Awards.
That's another thing too, like his look.
Yeah.
Who was like, we're gonna make him look like this?
I think Michael Keaton had a hand in some of that. He wanted to add like the lesions and the wounds and the crazy outfits and hair. So it was really collaborative because this movie started out very differently. The original script was far darker. It was rewritten. Originally, they imagined Beetlejuice as a winged demon whose human form was that of a small Middle Eastern man for some reason. And his plan, so it would have been like someone that looks like me if I was brown. His plan for the Deets was more about rape and murder than mischief and marriage. God. Yes. And the car crash was more gruesome. And then we were talking about the ending. The original screenplay ending had Beetlejuice being destroyed by an exorcism, and the Maitland's house shrunk and it lit down to the size of like the model houses in the model town. And instead of sharing their home with the Deets family, they move into the model house and renovate it to look like their house. And the Deets parents leave, and they just leave Lydia there to be raised by the Maitlands and wherever they are, which also doesn't make sense.
There is a universe where this is like a real horror movie.
Yeah,
I could certainly see that, but I don't know. It probably isn't as memorable as a real horror movie.
Yes, it would be a little more like everything else. Do you know who Tim Burton wanted to play Beetlejuice, who his original choice he had in mind?
Who, Johnny Depp?
No.
I'm seeing it now.
The Candyman?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, shit. Beetlejuice, baby.
Who was 63 at the time, wanted him to play Beetlejuice. I don't know. I'm glad we live in this universe where Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice. I don't know if that would have been... It could have been great. Sammy was funny. And he also wanted... Angelica Houston was actually cast to play Delia Deets originally, but couldn't do it because she was sick. Lydia...
Alyssa Milano was also in the running for
Lydia Deets.
Lydia Deets.
So
yeah, the names here for Lydia Deets.
Yep.
Alyssa Milano was the runner-up, but then you got Sarah Jessica Parker, Brooke Shields, Lori Loughlin, Diane Lane, Justine Bateman, Molly Ringwald, Juliette Lewis, and Jennifer Connelly.
I could see Juliette Lewis in this role also a little bit.
Juliette Lewis, Jennifer Connelly, Connelly, or Molly Ringwald would have worked.
I think Winona's great in this role. I mean, she is.
Winona definitely always looks the gothic vibes.
Yeah, so. That's what you just was always drawn to her. The dark hair. And apparently they were going to name this House Ghosts originally, and then Tim Burton jokingly suggested just call it Scared Sheetless, and they took this seriously and made like a poster that said Scared Sheetless, and we're gonna go with it. The poster also is fantastic. Beautiful painting, iconic poster. Roger Ebert.
His name too, like who came up with that?
Beetlejuice. Like, it's Betelgeuse, which is an actual star constellation called Betelgeuse. So, but then the name they just for the title, it's easier phonetically to say Beetlejuice with the juice, but like it's really spelled Betelgeuse but pronounced juice. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. It's a fun word.
Yeah.
Fun word to say. Roger Ebert gave it 2 out of 4 stars. I guess he wasn't really taking it at the time when it came out. Here's another dark Easter egg. You hear when they're in the afterworld, you hear over the PA, the guy go, Flight 409 is arriving at gate 3. Apparently, Flight 409, United Airlines flight, crashed into the mountains in Wyoming in 1955, killing all the passengers on board, and nobody knows why it happened still to this day. So...
Oh, that's pretty dark.
Yes. I already went over Beetlejuice doesn't appear until 25 minutes in and then 47. And he's only in it 17 minutes. This movie, of course, spawns a cartoon show, comics, lots of toys, video games. There's a musical that came out in 2018. Ruggs, have you seen this musical?
No.
I kind of want to see it. I heard it was pretty good. And this was the first movie Netflix sent out in 1998 when they opened shop with sending out DVDs. Beetlejuice was the first.
Yeah, this movie is it's of its time.
It's of its time, but it's still a cult. I
mean, the fact that he wants to marry a child is crazy.
That's a little weird that he's obsessed with this teenager.
Why does he want to marry her?
Because
so he can get out.
That's how he gets out
into the real world.
Yeah. So I think that's going to come up in this new one.
Well, the new one, the plot is that Lydia's father's died, so it brings them back to the house, and she's got a daughter now that
right, Jenna Ortega, which is perfect casting.
And then Beetlejuice gets involved.
Oh, now he wants to marry her daughter, probably, or something. He needs to get out. He's still.
Here's the premise. 36 years after the events of Beetlejuice, the Dietz family returns home to the Winter River after Charles Dietz's unexpected death. Lydia's life is turned upside down when a rebellious teenage daughter, Astrid, discovers the mysterious model of the town in the attic, and the portal to the afterlife is accidentally opened, releasing Beetlejuice or Beetlejuice.
So I'm curious to see, because I saw some articles where Michael Keaton actually fought for reduced screen time in this movie, and now I see why. I'm curious to see, are we going to see more Beetlejuice or less? Will it be too much, or will they stick to the same ratio? That's going to be interesting.
Winona's returning.
Catherine O'Hara's returning, right, as Delia. Now, Jeffrey Jones, he's not dead. They didn't have to kill off his character. Clearly, they don't want to work with him.
They don't want to.
I think he's not going to work with anyone.
Well, here's a couple names, though, that also are intriguing. You got Willem Dafoe in this movie.
Yes, Willem Dafoe looks awesome in the trailer.
And you also have Danny DeVito in the movie.
Oh, shit. Danny's in this? Oh, that's so perfect. I can't wait.
The Penguin.
Yes, again, Tim Burton's Penguin. And maybe hopefully it's a return to form for a little Tim Burton. I'm really curious to see if the magic, he can recreate it, but make something new and not rely too much on nostalgia. That's what it's going to have to do. But how dirty can they get? Will there be a fucking F-bomb in there? Will he sneak another one in?
Do you think there should be another Beetlejuice?
I don't know. This was, the cartoon was great, but it didn't make a lot of sense. It was like Beetlejuice and Lydia hanging out and having adventures. I think maybe you either did this 15 years ago but maybe even now is better. I don't know. They've been trying to make this movie for a while. If they have a story, yes.
I think the idea of a Beetlejuice would be, this is going to be insane, but the idea that he's a exorcist for humans, or what do you call it?
He's a freelance bioexorcist.
Bioexorcist.
Yeah.
And people just come to them with his problems, and he's got to fucking scare them.
That's a great premise.
You can just do a TV show about that.
I'd watch that every week. See what kind of shit he gets into and how. Yeah.
Well, the good thing about this sequel is Tim Burton's doing it, so that's good. Also, it did, with him only being in the movie for 17 minutes, and they did all this other media, but there's a whole world there that he built that you certainly can mine more stories out of it. And, I think there's a logical next thing, right? He's been cast to the underworld and he's looking for a way out. And that in and itself is already a storyline. What if he got out? What if he got out again? What's going to happen?
And it looks like they're going back to that house, the Dietz's, the Maitland's house, that he's been stuck there the whole time. And I love that it's her daughter now. They built that whole house. That whole house was a prop. They built it just for the movie. Pretty good prop. But I can't, because you see shots of the attic and the model, and I was like, oh shit. And once you hear that music, once you just hear dun, 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 I'm like, let's go. It's Beetlejuice. Dun, 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 dun.
Your excitement for this movie is
I'm excited now.
After watching this,
it's making me excited to watch this.
I fucking forgot. They're projecting $81 to $94 million domestic opening. This thing is being projected to open big. It's currently 78% Beetlejuice on Rotten Tomatoes with 40 reviews. And the early reactions have said yes, it does honor the legacy and kind of give you something fresh. So I just watching this again, and I watched it a couple of times. I love it so much. It's so much.
Wait, you watch
it's always on
because it was. I watched it and then it was just on back to back on one channel. They were just showing Beetlejuice, and I just had it on. I was like, this movie's
great. It is an easy movie because there were some points where I was also doing other things, and it's a very easy movie to just have on.
Yeah,
and you can follow it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and it's still entertaining, whatever part you watch.
Right.
It's really funny. All right, final thoughts. Let's give it a score. Anthony, you go first.
This is a 7.5 for me. I had a good time with the movie. It is kind of crazy and not always my vibe. I don't like the wacky aesthetic at times, but I enjoyed watching it. It was a good time, and I'm because I watched this, now I'm actually more excited to see Beetlejuice.
Nice.
Beetlejuice. So there you go.
Ruggs, what would you give it?
I'm going to also give it a 7.5 because it is a classic. It's a classic. I would probably even give it an 8 just on the score alone, but like I'm going to keep it a 7.5. It's an acceptable film. It does leave a lasting impression, and the performance by Michael Keaton is just hilarious, and you want to see more of that character.
Leave you wanting more, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've gushed about this movie. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. It's a great movie. It's not perfect. I do love it. 8.5 for me.
I think the ending's a little weak, but other than that, that's my biggest complaint.
Yeah, so they kind of like, so she gets that whole part where he's trying to get married and they're trying to say his name and he's stopping them and he sends Barbara to the desert and then she just comes in riding a sandworm. Is kind of wild. And I'm like, how the fuck did she get that sandworm? How long was she there? What happened? So there's a lot of questions and she's fucking riding that thing like fucking the Muad'Dib in Dune and shit. Like, it's great. But
go ahead.
No, I noticed in the trailer they're still using kind of, it looks like the stop motion sandworm still in the new one, which is fantastic.
Is this Tim Burton's best movie?
Oh man, that
no, but it's really definitely a good one.
I don't think it's his best. It's up there.
What would you pick as your favorite Tim Burton movie?
I mean, I love Batman. Movie. I know it has a lot of problems.
I think all three of these movies, I think Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Batman,
Mars Attacks is pretty good,
and Beetlejuice are iconic.
Edward Scissorhands is also really good,
but they're not as quotable.
No,
and they're not as like you don't remember the music. The music isn't as distinct, and all. I mean, there is some distinctness there, but
God, what is his magnum opus here? That's
exactly what I'm getting at. Well, that 3-year run, 88 Beetlejuice, 89 Batman, 90 Edward Scissorhands. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good run.
Maybe
I think obviously he makes more movies, but Edward Scissorhands for me, I think, is the most affecting movie is Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of emotion and it's sad, and you still have all the goth and Winona Ryder again, and all the goth stuff is in there. And that's where we see Anthony Michael Hall, and he's all big and jacked. And I was like, who the fuck is that? What happened to him? Boy, did you what have you been eating? Jesus. But Beetlejuice, you could make an argument that Beetlejuice is the magnum opus. It has everything firing.
Yeah. I think that I don't know. I think Batman is great. And I think Pee-wee's Big Adventure is also great.
I mean, I think he's at his height in like that late 80s.
I think Edward Scissorhands is probably his most poetic film
because it's unique. It's you know this is a Tim Burton movie just by looking at things.
Yeah, and it's a unique thing. It's not off of anything else. He's not adapting.
Yeah,
like he was adapting Pee-wee's Big Adventure off of Pee Wee Herman.
Batman's
adaptation. He was adapting Beetlejuice
original.
But he didn't make that up, did he?
Yeah.
Or
well, I mean, the writers started with that and modified it and made him. And I'm sure Michael Keaton had thoughts. And
what about Edward Scissorhands? Is that a completely Tim Burton thing, or is that something else?
Who wrote Scissorhands is written by Tim Burton and Caroline Thompson.
So I would probably say his magnum opus would be
maybe it is Scissorhands.
I would argue it's Scissorhands.
Mm-hmm.
Beetlejuice is really funny and really good.
Yeah.
But it's not like the most tight plot.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things where you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why did that go there?
Yeah.
It's more, like I said earlier, it's more of like this kind of movie of skits where you're just like, okay, we're into the next scene in this little bit. Now we're doing this little bit.
I think the concept is good and the initial plot is good.
Yeah.
But everything, it doesn't really hold up all around.
And like we said, Batman is not original, but he did go with it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Edward Scissorhands for me, I don't think I would ever like casually watch Edward Scissorhands. Like that's a fucking affecting movie.
Yeah.
But it's a really it's a very well-rounded movie.
It really is. There's great character arcs and it sucks you in. And since he wrote it, okay, I can see that argument for that. That would make some more sense.
I would say that was probably the best. Yeah.
Good
I
stuff.
didn't get into a ton of Tim Burton though, like later on. So like Mars Attacks, Sleep Hollow. I haven't seen those movies. So
Mars Attacks is fun. It's kind of wild. I just love because he does a lot of drawings and they're really quirky and fun and really good about these movies and just his whole aesthetic and it's great. It's great. It's so unique, so fresh. It was still kind of is.
Tell him to stop doing Disney movies.
Yeah, the Dumbo was not working out. Don't do apes movies. I think he was forced into that one. I don't even think he wanted to Planet of the Apes.
That's not really his thing.
No.
He's more of like, I don't think he's an action movie guy. I think he's more of like, even though he did Batman, they weren't really action movies. They were more about the environment and the feel and the art direction and the mystique.
He is more about mood and atmosphere and quirky human drama, right? It's like quirky stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't do well when you're giving him like big budget IP that he can't put he can't do like the Apes movie.
Yeah, you can't pigeonhole.
Like he really do a great Dracula or Frankenstein movie.
Yeah. It has to fit into his wheelhouse.
Well, like he's done stuff like Corpse Bride and Frankenweenie, which is like very Tim Burton-y.
Right.
And even Pee-wee was a good fit for him because it has that kind of fun, innocent, quirky, zany vibe.
Yeah, it's an augmented reality.
Yes, it's a hyper stylized reality. He does the scary stop motion stuff in that too with Large Marge, just like Beetlejuice does with his face. She does the same thing. It's great. And Pee-wee's like, I'll get off here.
Talking nerd.